Hi everyone, it's yvetteleblowitz from SpiritGirl.com and welcome to the Spirit Girl Talk Show podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you today and with our very special guest, Jen Stevens, who is a wife, a mother, retired teacher, and an intermittent faster. She's the author of a New York Times bestseller, Fast, Feast, Repeat. She is also a podcast host of the Intermittent Fasting podcast, Intermittent Fasting Stories, and Life Lessons. And we are here today to talk to her about her brand new book, Cleanish. So, Cleanish is how we can eat mostly clean, live mainly clean, and unlock your body's natural ability to self clean. Welcome. How are you today?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so grateful that you're here and that we're going to have the opportunity to talk about your brand new book. And I'll welcome our global audience. But before we dive into your book, are you happy to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm 52 and I was a teacher for 28 years. And like so many people who are probably listening, I struggled with my weight for really for decades. I was always on the latest diet. I was going up, I was going down. I yo-yoed until one day in 2014, I realized I weighed 210 pounds and I was officially obese. And so I had to figure out something. I'm a smart person. I have a doctorate in gifted education. And then I thought, why can't I figure this out? And I had heard about intermittent fasting back in, I don't know, 2009 perhaps was the first time I heard about it. And, I dabbled in it here and there, but I didn't really see it as anything other than like a temporary diet that you do to lose weight. Thank goodness I stuck with it. I went on to lose 80 pounds. I've been maintaining my weight ever since 2015. I've gone through menopause, and intermittent fasting has changed my life in so many ways.
Wow. And for people who are tuning in, when you
Mhm.
talk about intermittent fasting,
Right.
what does that mean to you and how does that play into your lifestyle now?
Well, intermittent fasting can also be called time restricted eating for the most part. There are many different ways you can do intermittent fasting, but I eat every day during a daily eating window and I arrange my daily eating window around my schedule. Today I haven't opened my window yet because I like to do my podcast interviews in the fasted state. But as soon as we get off the air today, I'll open my eating window and I eat every day until I'm satisfied. Some days my eating window might only be an hour. If it's a very busy day, some days it might be 8 hours. So I really switch things up to suit my life and what's going on. It's just a very flexible way to live, and there's no one right way to do it. And I know we're here to talk about Cleanish, but for anybody who really is excited about getting started with an intermittent fasting lifestyle, Fast Feast Repeat will give you everything you need to know. Cleanish is not an intermittent fasting book, and you do not need to be an intermittent faster to read it or follow it. And I just want to get that out there because maybe people might be like, oh, intermittent fasting, I'm out. But it's a great way to live your life. And so I wanted to get that out there because, I really think of intermittent fasting as the health plan with the side effect of weight loss. Of course, I was obese. I started because I needed to lose weight. I wasn't healthy at 210 pounds. But the more I've learned about intermittent fasting over the years from 2014 to today, the experts that I've talked to on my podcasts and just through, all the books that I've read. Basically, it is really the way that top scientists and researchers, especially longevity researchers, they have adopted intermittent fasting themselves as a lifestyle because when you learn about how powerful it is, you want some of that.
I love that you've shared a little bit of that because on your website at jenstevens.com, you have your incredible transformational photos, which, by the way, congratulations on your
Thank you.
success in getting to a healthy weight,
Mhm.
feeling amazing within, and you look amazing. So everyone go to the Spirit Girl YouTube channel because Jen Stevens' skin is glowing
Thank
as a
you.
cleanish beauty and you just look amazing. So we're going to dive now into your book. Can you tell us what the meaning is behind the title Clean-ish?
Well, for years we've heard people toss around the ideas of clean eating, right? Really, when you read things about it, it's kind of presented as an all or nothing. you're either eating clean or like what? I don't know. You're eating dirty? No. The only dirty food really is dirty food that's been on the floor. The whole idea of being clean is basically prioritizing real foods, using products that are safe, and lowering our overall toxic load. And so the whole point of clean-ish is that we can make choices that impact our health greatly without trying to be perfect. The ish is what makes it doable because, how many people have started something and thought, I'm going to do this. I'm 100%, I'm going all in. And then it's just too much. You're trying to do everything perfectly. And then you just give up because you think, well, if I can't do it perfectly, I might as well just quit. And so the whole idea of being cleanish is that perfection is not required. We can lower our toxic load. We can improve the foods that we're eating, but still have a little ish in our lives.
I love, love, love the book title.
Thank you.
And I love how it is eat mostly clean, live mainly clean, and unlock your body's natural ability to self-clean. And what really resonated with me is you gave us permission and reminded us the importance about life isn't about being perfect.
Right.
100% all of the time. There's a bit of give and take. Don't beat yourself up. Just try your best on any given day. And I really loved that message because we are living in global times which demands us to be perfect.
We can't be perfect. Perfection is a lie.
Thank goodness you reiterated that in the book.
Yeah.
I think if there's anything you get out of Jen Stevens' book is definitely that clear message. What is wrong with our ultra processed foods?
The terminology ultra processed is just so good because it really just started showing up in the literature in common use in the past few years. Prior to that, we just talked about either whole foods or processed foods, right? You've probably all heard of processed foods and whole foods, but it got really confusing because the terminology processed foods could really apply to anything. If you took an ear of corn and you shucked it and you cut the corn off the cob, you're processing it, right? It's not just straight off the way it came out of the field. Or if you take wheat kernels and you mill them into flour at home and you're making your own bread out of wheat that you ground into flour yourself and you're using olive oil and yeast and you're making it. Clearly that's a processed food, but it's really different from a loaf of bread that you buy at the grocery store that's full of additives. So scientists came up with the terminology ultra processed. And that really is the difference. There's something called the NOVA food scale that you can look at that and everything is ranked 1 through 4. 1 being pick an apple, that's a 1, the whole food itself. And it goes all the way up to level 3, which is like I just talked about before, something that's processed, but still healthy. We've been processing food to eat it since the beginning of time. But it's when you get into category 4, those are the ultra processed foods. And that's when chemicals start coming in. That's when you look at the ingredients list and it doesn't even look like food anymore. And that's what we have these days, ultra processed foods. I'm not sure how it is in Australia, probably not that far behind us, but here in America, average adult, over 50% of their diet is ultra processed foods. And would you say that's probably similar?
It's getting very similar. Yes.
Yeah. So it's not food and it's mostly chemicals and it doesn't have the nutrition that our bodies need. So not only are we not getting the important nutrition that our bodies need, but we're getting all these additives and chemicals that our bodies don't know what to do with. So that increases our toxic load and it causes all sorts of problems within our bodies. So, there's been a ton of research with ultra processed foods, especially over the past few years. If you've done any kind of reading of scientific literature or any kind of scientific concept, you usually find a lot of disagreement or a lot of, controversy or people don't agree. But pretty much everything I've read about ultra processed foods agrees. All the research is pretty clear. It does not increase positive health outcomes, and it's actually linked to so many of our negative health outcomes that are occurring today. So ultra processed foods, that's what we should be targeting in our diets. Probably all of us have heard of carbs are the enemy or fat is the enemy or grains are the enemy. Fill in the blank. It's like a new food is the enemy every day, right? In the media. But really, you could fill in that blank with ultra processed foods are the enemy. And I think we could all agree that that is true. So, we want to prioritize real foods that would be in, categories 1 through 3. And that does include processed foods. You don't just only have to eat the produce section. But you just wanna stay away from the ultra processed foods. Basically, if your great, great, great grandmother would have recognized it, it's probably food.
I love that message. When it comes to our cleaning products or personal care items, what should we be looking for?
Let's first talk about our toxic load for a minute, our bucket. Think about your body as like a bucket, right? How many toxins, what your toxic load, what your body can handle. And every time you eat something with these funky chemicals adds to your bucket. But also, the chemicals that you put on your skin go into your body. And sometimes people are like, wait, that's not true. That can't possibly be true. But we all know that you could have a nicotine patch if you're trying to quit smoking, and the nicotine goes right into your bloodstream and into your system. We all know women who have like a birth control patch. We know that transdermal medication applications are powerful. It goes into your skin through the patch. So other things go in it as well. Your skin is a two-way street. So when you're putting things on your skin, that adds to your toxic load. Also, what you're using around your house, the laundry detergent that you're using, the hand soap that you're using. Do you have air fresheners around? Did you just put in new carpet? All of those things come into our bodies. We breathe them in, absorb them through our skin. So many things are coming into our bodies at all times. So back to that bucket. Your bucket can hold so much, but eventually it's going to fill to the top. And once your bucket is full, it's going to start to overflow. And when your bucket overflows, that's when you have some sort of issue. Maybe it's your allergies start acting up, or perhaps you have eczema, or perhaps now you can't control your weight. But so many of the things start to happen. Maybe you can't sleep at night. But as our toxic loads go up, our bodies don't function as well. So our goal is to put less in through the food that we're eating, through the products that we're using, what we're putting on our skin, what we have in our environment. You can't live in a bubble because you're going to go to the grocery store or you're going to get on an airplane and there's going to be chemicals in the environment that you can't avoid. But by being proactive at home with what you choose and what you buy, you can make a great deal of difference overall in the level of your bucket. And so we put less in, but then we also work to take stuff out. And how do we do that? Well, our bodies have amazing self-cleaning mechanisms. That's the third part of the title of the book, Unlock Your Body's Self-Cleaning Abilities. We've got a liver, we've got kidneys, sweat. So our bodies are great detoxification machines, but we need to support those processes. And surprise, surprise, real food also does that. The phytochemicals that are in the real food, those chemicals in the food support our liver function and our kidney function. And so you're putting good fuel in, you're not putting the bad stuff in, and our bodies become better at taking it all out.
Wow, your skin is absolutely glowing. So
Thank
when it
you.
comes to your own skincare or
Mhm.
makeup, can you share your routine or some products you love to use?
Well, I'm pretty simple. I don't have a ton. I wash my face in the morning when I'm taking my shower, and then I might put on like a little something under my makeup. And then I put my makeup on, and then at the end of the day, well, I wash my face. That's really it. I don't use a ton of different products. I don't do a lot of fancy stuff. I do have a brand that I love here in America. It's Beauty Counter. And the thing is that I don't want to have to work real hard and have to go to the store and figure out what's okay and what's not okay. So I tend to support brands or stick with a brand or find a brand that has done the work for me. And so the brand I use, I don't think y'all have that in Australia, but Beauty Counter is an American brand. And I'm sure there are some amazing things in Australia as well. They have clean beauty and they have a never list where they're like, we will never have dangerous things in our products. And so they're rated very highly. And so I know that anything that they sell is going to be safe for me. There are also apps that you can use. Now, I know I'm talking to an international audience, and I'm not sure what's available in Australia as far as apps, but here in America, we have one called the Environmental Working Group app, and it allows you to check products to see if they're safe. There's one, I don't know if it would work in Australia or not. It's called Switch Natural. You have to buy the app. It's not free. You buy it one time, I think, and then it allows you to take a photo of ingredients lists. It just scans the photo, the ingredients list, and then it tells you if any of those chemicals are chemicals of concern. Apologize that I don't know what's available in the Australian market, but there are more and more resources like this coming available all the time as consumers start to demand safer and cleaner products. Companies are obliging us, and it's getting easier and easier to find what we're looking for.
In Australia, we have an online website which is Nourished Life, and they do that incredible check to make sure that it's clean
Mhm.
beauty products. I use a brand called Inica. They are clean beauty.
Right.
And I think it's been about 10 years, maybe 15, when I switched to more natural products with the toxins being taken out, more
Mhm.
sustainable. I'm positive it's made a
Well, your
difference to
skin
my
is beautiful.
skin. We get told when it comes to our water, it needs to be filtered. Also, to watch out for drinking out of plastic bottles that
Right.
aren't BPA free.
Right.
What's your take on that?
Well, that is true. Food contact chemicals are a problem. You do want to avoid things that leach out of the packaging into our food. So it is better if you can choose, for example, sparkling water in a glass bottle. That's going to be a better choice. But so many companies are really listening, like I said, and we're seeing BPA free options everywhere. It's just a matter of keeping your eye on that. And yes, tap water can vary from place to place. So filtering it is rarely a bad idea. Just because it's within the legal guidelines or the legal limits, that doesn't mean it's ideal. There's little things that you decide what's important to you. You could change like everything in the world, but it's overwhelming. But instead, you decide what makes a difference to me. Like I got rid of all my nonstick pans that had the Teflon and invested in stainless steel pans. And then I also use pans that have a ceramic coating that gives you the non-stick kind of performance, but without, getting into the food and it's safe. So it's just a matter of you figuring out what matters to you the most, and that's where you begin. And it's very much a journey. This is not a book that you sit down and you read from page 1 to page 400 and whatever, and then you get to the end and you're like, all right, I'm cleanish now. No, it's very much a process. At the end of every chapter, you have a reflect and take action section where you're taking stock of what you're doing. You're identifying what's important to you. You're seeing where can you make small incremental improvements. I mean, it might take you months to work your way through the book. And then at the end, you come up with your cleanish timeline where you're really going to implement the changes and you can start wherever you want. You might say, you know what? I don't want to tackle food yet. I'm not ready for that, but I'm going to start with my household cleaning products. I'm going to start there first. Whatever feels right to you. This book is designed to empower the reader to make the choices that really resonate with them and know that, again, it's a process, it's a journey, and you can't be perfect because we can't live in a bubble. And if we did live in a bubble, is the bubble BPA free? I don't know. I mean, what's the bubble made of?
You can't do it all at
Mhm.
once
You can't.
because I have literally just been tackling moving to glass
Yeah,
so that if I'm going to reheat something in the microwave, it's in glass so that the chemicals can't leach into the
exactly.
food.
That's
So then
important.
just slowly doing bit by
Mhm,
bit, tackling my cleaning products,
mhm.
switching to clean products. But it hasn't happened all of a sudden. I'm just
Right.
doing bit by bit. So I love how you reiterated it's a journey. And I want to ask if we're trying to get our family members on board
Mhm.
with the plan to be cleanish, what's your tips on that?
Well, it depends on which family members you're talking about because different family members might have different issues. Like, for example, a spouse might be worried that it's going to cost a lot of money. I might be speaking from personal experience here with a spouse who's like, yes, but I want to buy this cheaper one. And you have to really just have a conversation about why you're making these changes and how you're investing in your health. It doesn't also have to be more expensive, which is important to know. You can buy clean products that are not more expensive, especially these days. So that might be a factor. If you've got kids, it might be a factor, whereas they like what they like and what they're used to, and especially as you're changing your food. But you can make very simple swaps, and that's the part that's so important. Like, for example, let's just talk about yogurt. Yogurt's very popular. Is it super popular with kids in Australia too?
Yes,
Super
they
popular.
love yogurt.
Love
Yes.
yogurt. It's sweet and creamy and delicious. And if you go to the yogurt aisle of any American grocery store, the yogurt aisle is huge now. There's so many different types of yogurt, and it runs the continuum from an excellent choice to super duper ultra processed. I was a teacher for 28 years. I taught elementary kids up to the age of 10 or 11. And I know that you can teach kids things and they're pretty savvy. You can teach kids about nutrition. You can teach kids about quality ingredients. You can teach them to read ingredient labels. Instead of saying something like, this yogurt we used to get is really bad. It's terrible yogurt. We're not getting that bad yogurt anymore. Now we're going to get this good yogurt. First of all, I'd like to encourage you not to put morality on foods so that we're teaching kids good food, bad food. That's not what we want to do. Instead, we want to teach our kids what we're looking for. We're looking for nutrients. We're looking for real ingredients. We're hoping to avoid all these chemicals we can't pronounce. So you can have that lesson right there in the grocery store and say, now this is the yogurt we have been buying. Let's look at this ingredients list. What do you notice there? And talk about it. Oh, like, look, sugar's the number one ingredient. That means it's got a whole lot of sugar. I wonder if we could find a yogurt that we liked that didn't have as much sugar, or let's see if we can find some with fewer ingredients and teach them and say, oh, look at this word that you can't pronounce. This is a probiotic that's in the yogurt. We want to find yogurt that does have probiotics in it. You're educating your kid to be a better consumer, and you're making them part of the process so they don't feel like you're doing something to them. Instead, they feel like they're getting to make the decision with you. That's, empowering for them, and they're more likely to go along with it.
I love that. That is such a beautiful approach to how to look at labels and how to teach them instead of going, that's bad, get away from that, you're not having that.
No.
Which I hear quite often in the grocery store in Australia, where parents are like, you can't have that, it's not good for you.
It's always going to be a better choice. I mean, really everything. I know, do y'all have Reese's peanut butter cups in Australia? Do you have those? Okay, well, it's a brand, Reese's peanut butter cups, super duper ultra processed, but you can find better quality versions of that. Now, it's still going to be ultra processed, right? It's candy. It's got peanut butter, it's got chocolate, but just finding better quality everything. You can totally do it and explain to your kids why. And then they're going to turn into little food snobs, and only the best will do.
The whole concept of reducing these toxins in the overload obviously is for our health and well-being.
Right.
Reducing inflammation into the body.
It does do that. Our bodies have to deal with a lot. I said before about our bucket, our toxic load. We have other toxins that are building up in our bodies just from metabolic processes. That's why we have, a liver, clear out the byproducts of just metabolism in general, right? We go to the bathroom to get the waste products out of our bodies, but we don't want these things to build up. But when we have more toxins coming in, now our bodies have to manage that as well. And so we're not just managing the things our bodies are supposed to be managing. Now it's like they're juggling even more. So then they can't do the things they need to do. They can't clean up where they need to clean up. The more that comes in, the harder our bodies have to work, and then they just can't keep up. By making these changes now, you're going to impact your health going forward. It can only help. It can't hurt you.
And I want to ask, Jen, you're in the mix of a book launch.
Right.
You're a podcast host on 3 podcasts. Yes. You're a mum. You have so much going on in your life. How do you, when you are doing so much, take care of your own self? What are some of your self-care rituals?
I have a sauna, and I love to get in my sauna. I actually have that list as a good self-cleaning mechanism because it helps us to detox. I have an infrared sauna. I jump on my rebounder. I love to go outside and sit in the sun and read. Getting some sun, that's part of my self-care routine. And just, taking some time for myself. And I love to take a bath.
I love your self-care rituals.
Thank you.
You're absolutely glowing.
Thank
for
you.
Our audience. Jen Stevens' energy is vibrant. She's glowing. And what you've achieved, turning your own life around, your story is incredible. You shared at the start of the podcast, obese, finding intermittent fasting, changing your whole life there. And then obviously, when you went down this path, cleanish.
Yeah.
What was the moment you discovered actually that, wow, I think I better switch to cleaner products? Was there a moment?
No, there wasn't like a moment. It was very much a process for me. It started with intermittent fasting. I started to feel so good. I was eating the standard American diet at the beginning, drive-through, fast food, stuff from takeout, all of that. And then as I started to feel better with intermittent fasting, I started to gravitate towards healthier food choices. And the better I ate, the better I felt. The more I took care of myself, the better I felt. Before I started writing Cleanish and doing the research, I thought I was living pretty clean. I had cleaning products, so I thought. I had a clean makeup line, so I thought it was mineral-based. I thought I was doing all the right things. Then when I started writing Cleanish and I started really digging in and researching more, and I really started looking at the products I was using, I realized I had been a victim of greenwashing. Greenwashing is when the products, the labeling and the wording that they use, the colors on the label, for example, some of the buzzwords make you think the product is better than it is. So I started going down that rabbit hole of looking at really everything, and I realized I wasn't making great choices that I thought I was making. Really, it was researching for Cleanish that made me make even better choices along the way, and really understanding this is very important. It's not just something to be like, yeah, whatever. No, it really, really matters. It makes a difference because we're living in kind of a chemistry experiment right now. We've never at any time in the history of the world had so many chemicals all around us. What's the effect going to be? Well, we certainly know that people are not healthier now than they were. Wouldn't you think if we've made all this progress that people would be like stunningly healthier by now? I remember watching the Jetsons when I was a little girl and dating myself, but they're all in their flying cars. We're certainly not living a healthy Jetsons lifestyle. It's
Yeah, you're so right. And
Mhm.
what I found interesting with your book and your journey and your story, you mentioned then the greenwashing.
Yeah.
I have experienced that most recently. It's easy to look at a product label and think, oh,
Mhm.
cruelty free,
Right.
vegan. Oh, well, there'll be no chemicals in there. And then I start reading ingredients. I'm like, hang on a minute, this has got loads of chemicals in
Right.
there.
Yeah,
But it's,
vegan doesn't mean healthy, right? Y'all have Girl Scout cookies in Australia?
yeah, we did
And
have,
the
well, we
Girl
still
Scout cookies
do.
are vegan, but they are super duper ultra processed.
We've got to double check those
Yeah.
ingredients lists, not just go for those big bang words. Cruelty free, vegan. Jen Stevens, I could talk to you forever, literally, about your brand new book, Clean Ish, the Eat Mostly Clean,
Here
Live
it is.
Mainly Clean, and Unlock Your Body's Natural Ability to Self Clean. There it is. It's
Yes.
available at any bookstore, anywhere you buy your books, also Audible form.
Yes. I
Yeah.
read it myself, so you get to
I know.
listen
I
to me
was
read it.
about to say, congratulations on reading your own book. How
Uh,
did that feel?
this is the third of my books that I've read. The first I did is my self-published book, Delay Don't Deny. I read it at a local radio station with like a friend of a friend helped me do the audio engineering. But two of them, Fast, Feast, Repeat, and Cleanish, I read them both here at home. We're both, thanks to COVID. With Fast, Feast, Repeat, I was supposed to go out. We were recording in March of 2020. I was supposed to go to Atlanta and record in a recording studio. And they were like, oh, sorry, everything's closed. So I had to record it from home. And then I got sick when it was time to record Cleanish. And so I couldn't travel. And so I was like, well, we'll record this one from home as well. So I was on the line with like an audio engineer and a director. I was like, why did I write so many hard words? Who wrote this? Who wrote all this? It was me. I wrote it. But you
I
realize
just,
how many words you don't know how to pronounce when you're reading an audiobook.
it is just incredible looking at your transformation of your
Mhm.
life and all of this from eating better,
Yeah.
eating cleaner, taking care of yourself, practicing self care, intermittent fasting to see how you've transformed your life and what you've created. Do you really need to pinch yourself like,
Sometimes.
wow, I
Yeah,
can't believe
I
I've
do.
got 3 podcast shows. I'm a New York Times bestselling author. You are such an inspiration to anyone
Thank you.
tuning in today that regardless of where you are with your health, you have the ability to change it, to feel
Mhm.
better from within, and to create a magnificent life that is based on helping others also in their journey. How does it feel, Jen Stevens, when you just like sit back for a moment and go, whoa?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I look back to the 2014 me. In 2014, I was obese and I was a school teacher, and here I am now. It is
Wow.
I don't think the 2014 me would have believed it, that it's possible. The way technology is now, I was able to self-publish a book. I was able to get the message out there. And then, of course, my New York Times bestseller and Cleanish are not self-published. I have traditional publishers for those. Anybody can start a podcast and put a podcast out. And, will people listen? It depends, if you can get it out there and if you've got good content. But we are all at the point where we can get our messages across, and anyone can write something. Anyone can get it out there. You're no longer, at the whim of a publishing house necessarily or a radio station, right? I just create my podcast and bloop, there it is.
I know, and you've had millions of downloads. What is
Millions
it,
of
like
downloads, it's amazing.
14.3
Lots of them.
million? So many. And I'm a true believer whether you are maybe 60,
Mhm,
70. I've even met one lady who was 80 and her goal was to write a book
mhm.
before obviously she left Mother Earth. And she's like,
Right.
you know what? I'm 80, I'm making it happen. And she did.
I love
So
it. We're never
it
too
just
old. 'Cause I was in my 40s and I was a school teacher, and here I am at 52, retired school teacher, and I'm living second career, and it's very much a dream. And helping hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, I don't know, with all those millions of downloads, I don't know how many people, individual people that represents, but I had big Facebook groups. I've now since left Facebook, but when I left Facebook, we had 500,000 members in our groups combined. Just to think of the
unbelievable.
reach of the message and, it's not just me, I just have a big mouth and I was able to tell it well, right? I tell somebody or, okay, I tell 500,000 people or whatever, but then they're telling people too, and that's where the power is. This has been a real grassroots movement. When I started my very first Facebook group, it was me and my husband in the group, and then 30 friends joined me, and then the next thing I knew, a few years later, we were up to 500,000 people. When you tell people things that change their lives, they'll tell other people, and then that's how a movement happens.
I am just in awe of what you have accomplished and achieved. And I mean, you have so much more to give. Thank you so much, Jen Stevens, for sharing your book. I'm just so grateful that I had the opportunity to talk to you today and to share you with our Spirit Girl podcast listeners. I'm a big fan of your work
Thank you.
and of your brand new book, Cleanish. Totally recommend it. I'm a big fan of clean beauty.
Mhm.
And thanks to you, I've changed to glass container.
Aw,
Must admit, using clean products in the bathroom, unbelievably easy. I actually don't mind cleaning the bathroom
it's
now.
so easy, it is. One thing I'm doing now in my shower, I have a little scrub sponge in there, and I just scrub while I'm showering a little bit. I don't have to spray anything on it. I'm like, "Oh, there's a little, mildew over there," and I'm scrubbing it. So I'm just scrubbing it with water while I'm in the shower. I mean
I know, it's so incredible because
Yeah,
before, if you use those harsh chemicals, you'd
yeah.
just be like, can't
Mhm,
breathe, and you'd
mhm.
just be a haze of toxins. And I would definitely want to put it off. So I just love everything that you do,
Thank
Jen
you.
Stevens. Now, what is your hope for your newfound book readers of Cleanish or audio listeners?
My hope is that, like I mentioned, I want them to feel empowered. There's a saying that ignorance is bliss. You can start reading this book and have your eyes open and be like super scared and like, oh my gosh. But I want people to flip that to knowledge is power. Because as you learn about this, then you can make the changes that you need to make for your health going forward and for your family's health. Every little change might make a difference. Some of these toxins might cause cancer, and you don't know that by changing your cleaning products now, maybe you won't have a cancer diagnosis in 30 years. Now, of course, are we going to be able to prove that? Like I said, no. But we make the changes that we can, and no one is gonna have a worse situation in the future because they clean things up now. It can only lead to better health outcomes in the future. Don't feel overwhelmed, feel empowered, and make the changes as you can make them.
I love your hope for your newfound book
Mhm.
readers and audio listeners. Jen Stevens, how can we stay in touch with you after this podcast show?
You can find me from jenstevens.com. It's GIN, like gin and tonic, Stevens with the PH, jenstevens.com. And the specific resources for Cleanish are at jenstevens.com/cleanish.
Thanks, Jen. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your words of wisdom, your story, your books, your practical tips, your insider knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Be sure to subscribe, to leave a 5-star rating and review, and to tell someone you love to. And together, let's feel good from within.